Boys will be boys until they become men. When people say, oh, he's not a real man because he's not providing or leading or, I don't know, dishing out money for other women. And when I think about that, what does that even mean? A man, to my knowledge, is a grown male adult. When men cause trauma, havoc, violence, or any of that sort, and people are like, oh, he's not a real man. He's a boy. He's a grown man acting like a child. He's da 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 da. Making every excuse in the book besides calling them a man that is doing this or that. I wanted to talk about that because it gives men the ability to skate past a lot of bad things because it'll just be chucked up as, oh, he's not a real man. Meanwhile, he's a real man and real flesh and blood causing problems. And as a society, we're kind of like, let's minimize these grown adult males who are violent. We see it in MAGA. We see how white young men are portrayed in the media as like these fragile beings that just simply made a mistake. We blame it on just simply the mental health aspect, what caused or led up to the atrocities that a lot of young white men has caused when it comes to violence. The image that we portray when young males do chaotic shit. Well, what actually happened? Like, there's no way he just out of nowhere just committed this crime. I mean, girls won't always be girls. Girls are never allowed to be girls. Girls are treated as if they're young women before they reach the age of 18. The moment a young girl gets her menstrual cycle, she's considered to be an adult or a woman enough, and she's even shamed for it because now society will look at her as having the ability to make adult choices because she now can allegedly procreate because she has a menstrual cycle now. But that's not always the case, right? We know that. Every single young teenager that has her menstrual cycle is not going to automatically be able to reproduce. The same way that not every grown adult woman is able to reproduce just because she has her period. Young girls are not given girls will be girls if they make mistakes. They're not given the benefit of the doubt up until adulthood. As women, we're faced with the ideology of, well, what did you do? What did you wear? What did you say? We are now entering like the victim blaming culture. A lot of the victim blaming culture stems from the patriarchy, of course, and misogyny, but young boys are also victims. Men are also victims. And even then, you'll have society where people will still not take men seriously that are victims of any sort. Who do we blame for that? We have a lot of women that believe in men are here to protect and provide, not just for like society, but for like women and their families. A man's purpose is whatever he says it is. The same way for women, our purpose is whatever we say it is. So for me, I look at it the same way. Now I get it. Men are stronger than women on average. And I get if a woman is being harmed in the street and there's a man around, we look for a man to jump in if she is being abused by another man. It makes sense when two men are fighting as opposed to a man fighting a woman, but that's not always going to be the case. There are bystanders. The bystander effect impacts everybody. So if a woman is being abused by a man in the street, which I've seen personally, unfortunately, I was in LA at the time and I literally witnessed a man putting his hands around a woman's throat, and it was insane. It was downtown LA. I was staying at my friend's loft and I looked at the window because there was like a whole bunch of commotion going on. I kid you not. I'm going to insert the footage and I'm giving a warning, a trigger warning. It needs to be shown at how careless this man was and other men walking by and didn't intervene. There's a man in uniform, in military uniform, and he's eating a plate of, it looked like Chinese food, and just watching the whole thing like it's Jerry Springer. I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm at least 5 floors up, and I open up the window to yell out like, hey, like what the hell is going on? Break it up. I'm the only person that I even heard or seen, and I'm inside of a loft apartment looking out into the street, trying to yell like, what the hell? Why isn't anyone like doing anything? guy is eating a plate of food in his army gear while they over here fighting and shit. The fuck? There are men that will stand by and watch a woman getting choked out in broad daylight and not do anything. And there are some men that's like, well, I don't know her, she's not my sister, why would I intervene and get hurt myself? There's two sides of that, which I understand, which is I don't know this person. If I intervene, I can possibly get hurt. A person. And then there's the other side where it's like, why does she have to be your sister or someone you know to care about a woman getting beaten up by a man in the street when you're there to witness it? Because if you do have the goal to stop a fight from your sister or your mother or your aunt or your cousin, your female cousin, that means you are willing to put your life on the line. So that's not the question. I can see if a guy's like, I wouldn't even do that for my sister. Then I'm like, all right, you ain't anyways, but okay, whatever, cool. At least you admitted it. At least we know we can't look for you to come and squash things out. This is just my opinion. These are my feelings, my thoughts. These aren't matter-of-fact things, right? I just want to talk about it. I see a lot of women jumping into fights to break up fights where a man is assaulting a woman. I've even been someone that broken up a fight where an ex-friend of mine was getting her behind beat by her ex-boyfriend. I intervened and I could have risked my life in the process. I was bruised up and everything after the situation. I'm not going to stand by and watch a woman getting her hair dragged through the hallway and getting punched on by her boyfriend and just be like, well, that's not my problem. It's not my, I don't know. You know, there are some people that will intervene. There are some people that freeze and don't know what to do. And then there are people that will call the cops. The whole idea of a man is supposed to protect and provide stems from the patriarchy. It stems from the idea of gender roles. It stems from the idea where it's like, I'm a woman. If I'm going to be in a relationship with a guy, he needs to protect me and provide. Those are actually ideologies. Okay, you're married to this man where you don't have any rights as a woman. And yeah, he's supposed to protect and provide for you, because back then where women had to rely on men in order to navigate through society, yeah, why wouldn't he protect and provide for his property? Boys become adults, they will carry on the idea that, well, I can do this and just be labeled, I'm just a man that's stupid, I'm just a man that cheats. You know men cheat. What are you gonna do about it? What do you mean what I'm gonna do about it? I'm gonna leave. Like, just because in society we accept the idea that if a man cheats, it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you. It just means he had a mishap or a lack of judgment, and women are supposed to be like, okay, still love you. No. That is dumb. So stupid. Yeah, a man could be a man, but I wouldn't be around. That interview with Marlon Wayans and what's her name? Fox. Miss Fox. I'll just say Miss Fox. I don't know why I can't think of her first name right now.
The youth needs to hear what real men are. I think there's there's masculinity.
But what are real men?
Right. To me, a real man is a responsible man.
Because every time a man does some shit, they'll be like, that's not a real man. And it's like, looks like a man to me.
I think a real man is in touch with his feminine
looks like a duck
side.
and it walks like a duck,
I mean?
yeah.
I think a real man is knows how to unstrap from his
I don't
ego.
know. I think the real man thing is just a thing like that people invented to like excuse bad behavior. You know?
Yeah,
like all men are real men.
Said like a real man.
Period.
Yeah,
Say it how it is.
I think,
To me, the solution should be how to raise young boys into understanding how to show emotions, because that's where a lot of that stems from. We don't teach boys how to show emotions in a healthy way, besides anger and besides entitlement. And we see that in the office right now. A man baby in office right now as our president. But that's a grown man who's making terrible decisions for this country. We're doing a disservice to our children when we're already setting up young boys to become men who don't know how to navigate when it comes to accountability and how to treat other people. Boys will be boys, but then it becomes men will be men. There should be no scapegoating. Yeah, he did something that's fucked up, but that's a man. And it doesn't benefit men either, because in a patriarchy, men are held to become these providers and these protectors. But what happens when they're not? When that pressure comes down on them and then Now they're called weak and not a real man. Their destiny may not be a husband or a father or this protector or provider of a family. He's still a man. He still has the right to live his life. The patriarchy does not benefit men the way that a lot of men think it does. We see a lot of husbands committing violence in their families and even wiping their families out when they lose their job or their income because they can't provide for the house anymore. Because society has told them, you're supposed to provide for your family and do this. And some men will literally crash out and say, fuck this, I'm not doing any of this. So I'm just going to take myself out and my family out. Now what? My purpose is gone. So is my family. I watch a lot of true crime, and I don't think I've ever seen so many cases where men are literally wiping out their families. It's so sad. But then I understand the connection of the patriarchy has done that. Well, what use am I if I can't work a full-time job and bring home the bacon? Is it rational? No. Can you see the dots? Yeah, you can. And that's why I don't live in the idea of these gender roles where it's like, I'm a woman, so I have to have a baby. I have to be a wife. I have to go to church every Sunday. I have to host dinner parties and holidays. I'm not doing none of that. Am I not a woman because of it? The same way that the patriarchy has set standards for how a woman should show up in the world in order for her to be a woman, a real woman, we get into the muddy waters when we then talk about trans women because they're not real women. Trans women are not born real women. No one's born a real woman. We're born female. Okay? Trans women know that they're not females. They know that they're males. The issue is people don't know the difference between sex and gender. I'm not getting into that tonight. I mean, I can. Trans women are women because woman is a social construct, the same way that race is. How we show up, how we identify. I'm a woman and I can wear a hoodie and pants and have, a cap on, and I'm still a woman, even though I might be presenting myself as quote unquote masculine. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it tonight, but I do eventually want to talk about how society lacks the cognitive mindset between gender and sex. Let's stop doing that. Boys will be boys. No, boys are people. There should be no behavior attached to a sex. This is where the fragile masculinity becomes a thing. This is where the ego overrides logic and emotion. This is where all of that combusts into this whole raging thing that society has created. And unfortunately, it's going to continue to happen because we literally don't just take care of shit. In order to prove yourself to be this cis hetero strong man, this is the list of how you're supposed to show up in society as a man. You can't whine. You can't eat hot dogs and lick ice cream. You can't talk about your emotions to your friends or your partner. Have a rest day. You can't do certain things because society tells you that's not a real man. A man can't possess his feminine side when you have society telling you that femininity only belongs to women, which is a lie. Literally, that's just a lie. So we all possess the masculine and the feminine. And people even have the idea of what feminine is and what that looks like and how we possess it. Right? Femininity is strong, actually. The feminine actually protects us. That's the logical side. That's the defensive side, to be honest. Masculinity is not as what people think it is. It's not like this bold and strong, man, the image of a man. Ariel's here. Ooh. I hope this video was informative because it has been on my mind. Yeah, live your life. Do whatever you want. If you're a guy who doesn't want to be a father or husband and you just want to be single and date around or whatever, and is protecting and providing for a woman is just not a part of your mantra, cool. I don't see anything wrong with that. The same way that I don't see anything wrong with being a cis woman who opts out of motherhood and marriage. That's our choice. You could be whoever you want, okay? Just don't hurt nobody. That's it, okay? So in the meantime, peace, love, and happiness. I'll see you guys in the next video.